10th of Tevet. The 10th day of the Hebrew month of Tevet is a fast day in Judaism. It is one of the minor fasts observed from before dawn to nightfall. The fasting commemorates the siege of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylonia, an event that began on that date and ultimately culminated in the destruction of Solomon's temple and the conquest of the kingdom of Judah. The day has no relationship to Chanukka, but it happens to follow that festival by a week. Whether the 10th of Tevet falls 7 or 8 days after Chanukka depends on whether the preceding Hebrew month of Kislev has 29 of 30 days in the relevant year. History. According to 2 Kings, on the 10th day of the 10th month in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian king, began the siege of Jerusalem. 2.5 years later, on the 17th of Tammuz, at the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah's reign, Jeremiah, he broke through the city walls. The siege ended with the destruction of the temple 3 weeks later, on the 9th of Av, the end of the First Kingdoms and the exile of the Jewish people to Babylon. The 10th of Tevet is thus considered part of the cycle of fasts connected with these events, which includes Shiva Asar Tammuz and Tisha B'Av. The first reference to the 10th of Tevet as a fast appears in Zechariah, where it is called the fast of the 10th month. One opinion in the Talmud states that the fast of the 10th month refers to the 5th of Tevet, when, according to Ezekiel, news of the destruction of the temple reached those already in exile in Babylon. However, the 10th is the date observed today, according to the other opinion presented in the Talmud. Other references to the fast and the affliction can be found in Ezekiel chapter 24 verse 1-24-2 and Jeremiah. According to tradition, as described by the liturgy for the day's selachos, the fast also commemorates other calamities that occurred throughout Jewish history on the 10th of Tevet and the 2 days preceding it. On the 8th of Tevet 1 year during the 3rd century BCE, a time of Hellenistic rule of Judea during the Second Temple period, Ptolemy, king of Egypt, ordered the translation of the Hebrew Bible into Greek, a work which later became known as the Septuagint. 72 sages were placed in solitary confinement and ordered to translate the Torah into Greek. The expected outcome would be a multitude of different translations that would then be compared and critiqued by the Greeks, as there were some sentences in the Bible that could be understood as offensive to pagans if taken wrongly and would obviously need to be changed. This would demonstrate the muddled meanings of the Torah and the divergent opinions of Jewish interpreters. However, all 72 sages independently made identical translations into Greek. The Greeks saw this as a most impressive feat. However, various rabbinical sources see this event as a tragedy, a debasement of the divine nature of the Torah, and a subversion of its spiritual qualities. They reasoned that upon translation from the original Hebrew, the Torah's legal codes and deeper layers of meaning would be lost. Many Jewish laws are formulated in terms of specific Hebrew words employed in the Torah, without the original Hebrew code. Authenticity of the legal system would be damaged. The mystical ideas contained in the Torah are also drawn from the original Hebrew. As such, these would not be accessed by individuals studying the Torah in Greek alone. On the 9th of Tevet, something happened, but we do not know what it was. The Selacho liturgy for the day states that Ezra the scribe, the great leader who brought some Jews back to the Holy Land from the Babylonian exile and who ushered in the era of the Second Temple, died on this day, and this is verified by the Kulbo. But according to the earlier sources, the specific tragedy of 9 Tevet is unknown. Some manuscripts of Behar add that Ezra and Nehemiah died on this day, but only after first stating that the rabbis have given no reason for why the day is tragic. Other suggestions are given as to why the 9th of Tevet is notable as well. Observance. As with all minor Jewish fast days, the 10th of Tevet begins at dawn and concludes at nightfall, in accordance with the general rules of minor fasts as set forth in the Shulchan Aruch, and in contrast to Tisha B'Av. There are no additional physical constraints beyond fasting. Because it is a minor fast day, Halacha exempts from fasting those who are ill, even if their illnesses are not life-threatening, and pregnant and nursing women who find fasting difficult. The Mishnah Berurah notes that it is still commendable to observe all the restrictions of Tisha B'Av on the minor fast days. Even so, he says one should not refrain from bathing in preparation for Shabbat when the 10th of Tevet falls out on a Friday. The 10th of Tevet is the only minor fast day that can coincide with Friday in the current Jewish calendar. If the fast occurs on a Friday, the unusual event of a Torah and Haftarah reading at the Minha service right before Shabbat takes place. This is fairly rare. In the recent past it occurred in 1996, 2001, 2006, 2010 and 2013, and will again occur on a Friday in the years 2020, 2023, 2025, 2034 and 2037. Under the current calendrical scheme, the 10th of Tevet cannot fall on Shabbat. A Torah reading, the An Inu prayer in the Amidah, and the Avinu Malkeinu prayer are added at both Shacharit and Minha services in many communities. Unless the fast falls on Friday, when Takanan and Avinu Malkeinu are not said at Minha. At Shacharit services, the Selicho are also said, and at Minha in Ashkenazi congregations, the Haftarah is read. Although this fast is considered a minor fast, it has an additional theoretical stringency not shared by any other fast except Yom Kippur, namely that if the 10th of Tevet were to fall out on a Shabbat, then according to some, this fast would actually be observed on Shabbat. The reason the fast of the 10th of Tevet and Yom Kippur must be observed on the actual day on which they occur is because of the phrase "the very day" is used in reference to both of them. In Ezekiel chapter 24 verse 2, in reference to the 10th of Tevet, and similarly for Yom Kippur in Leviticus chapter 23 verse 28. If it falls on Friday, the fast must be observed until nightfall, even though the Shabbat begins before sunset, and even though this requires one to enter Shabbat hungry from the fast, something typically avoided. It cannot be determined for sure whether other fasts would have the same ruling, because no other fast day can fall out on Friday, day of General Kaddish. The chief rabbinate of Israel chose to observe the 10th of Tevet as a General Kaddish day to allow the relatives of victims of the Holocaust, and whose Yahrzeit is unknown, to observe the traditional Yahrzeit practices for the deceased, including lighting a memorial candle, learning Mishnah and reciting the Kaddish. According to the policy of the chief rabbinate in Israel, the memorial prayer is also recited in synagogues, after the reading of the Torah at the morning services. To some religious Jews, this day is preferable as a remembrance day to Yom HaShoah, since the latter occurs in the month of Nisan, in which mourning is traditionally prohibited.